Today we're going to be learning about solving systems of equations, but we're going to use the substitution method. You learned about the graphing process last time, so we're going to learn about substitution. It's a little bit more complicated, but I think it'll be okay. So solving systems of equations using substitution, here are the steps. So step one, solve one equation for one variable. So remember, systems always has two equations. So in order to use the substitution process, you need to set one of them equal to one of the variables. So it could be y equals, x equals, a equals, and etc. Whatever your variable is that you're solving it for. Step two, substitute the expression from step one into the other equation. That'll make more sense once you start seeing some examples. Step three, simplify and solve the equation. Step four, substitute back into either original equation to find the value of the other variable. And then step five, check the solution in both equations of the systems. So let's kind of look through an example. So example one, you have two equations, y equals 4x and 3x plus y equals negative 21. All right. And so step one is solve one equation for one variable. Well, luckily, we already have a variable that is solved for, right? Y equals 4x. This equation is already solved for y. So that means we can go straight to step two, and that is substitute the expression from step one into the other equation. And so we're going to use 4x because we know that y is 4x. So in that second equation, we're going to substitute out y for what we know it is, which is 4x. Now that we've done that, we can move on to step three, and that is simplify and solve the equation, okay? And so what we'll do is we'll do 3x plus 4x, which is 7x equals negative 21. And then we'll divide by 7 to get x equals negative 3. So now we know that x is negative 3. We can move on to step 4, substitute back into the either original equation to find the value of the other variable. So we could go back to we could use the top equation or the bottom equation in this step. And so let's go ahead and just use the bottom one. So we're going to substitute out x for what we just found it is, which is negative 3. And we're going to go through that same process, but now solve for y. So 3 times negative 3 is negative 9, plus y equals negative 21. Add 9 on both sides to get y equals negative 12. And then your solution to your final answer is negative 3, negative 12. Because we know that x is negative 3, we know that y is negative 12. So you set it up in coordinate form. Okay, that is, Joel, just so you know, that point right there, negative 3, negative 12, if we were to graph these two equations, that is the point where they would cross. Okay. So looking at step 4, you could have used the top equation or the bottom equation to get your answer. Now, if I were, if I was on my own and I was solving this, I would have 100% used that top equation because 4 times negative 3 still would have given you negative 12 a lot faster, right? Step 5, of course, we can always check our answer if we want to. I highly recommend, but it's not required. And so we can use that top equation and say, well, if I know y is negative 12, substitute out y for negative 12. If I know x is negative 3, substitute out x for negative 3 and see if it becomes a true statement. Well, negative 12 does equal negative 12, so therefore we are 100% correct, right? Example 2, let's go through one more example and then you can do the activity. So first, solve for one equation for one variable. So on this one, we don't already have a y equals or an x equals. So we need to set it up so it is a variable equals content, right? So we go ahead and subtract x on both sides to now make it y equals negative x plus 10. And so now we have a y equals. So from here, we can substitute that negative x plus 10 into our second equation for y and solve, right? So if we know y is negative x plus 10, we can substitute out y for what we know it is, negative x plus 10, and solve, okay? And so we'll go through that process of solving it. Simplify your parentheses to have 5x plus x minus 10. 5x plus x is 6x. Add 10 on both sides to get 12. Divide by 6, x is 2. Step 4, substitute that equation in, right? So if we know x is 2, subtract 2 on both sides. Now we know y is 8. Your answer is 2, 8.